let's talk about this combine. Obviously, the quarterback conversation is huge. You're going to have to do a lot of it this week. 4 out of the top 5 guys are thrown. That's a big deal, right? Is that normal? Is that not normal? And what are you excited to see out of these guys?
Not recently. I mean, recently it's been kind of the in vogue thing. Just wait till your pro day and do it there. So I love the fact we're going to see a bunch of these guys throw.
Are you going to make sure you talk about, like, if they miss, like, never thrown with this guy? Like, I hope, I hope for the future that this sets a precedent, like, hey, get out there and compete and throw a little bit. Like, I think GMs see a lot out of that when guys choose to throw as opposed to opting out. I think it's a good thing, not a bad thing.
It's a great thing, and you're not going to hurt yourself. You want to see these guys. A lot of them haven't been under center, and I know it's a shotgun game even in the NFL now, but still, it's a chance to just watch them move around with their feet. You can see how the ball comes off your hand. But the timing and the accuracy is going to be spotty for all these guys. You don't know these guys you're throwing to. The line changes with who you've got and who you're with. So I just want to see how they spin it, how the ball comes out of their hand, and how they move around.
Let's talk about the guys. Anthony Richardson's stock is going to Malik Willis this year, right? Or this year. It is going to go through. Remember, Malik gave his jacket to a homeless person.
He did, right?
On the street here in Indianapolis. That was just a part of the whole thing. Threw the ball, ran well. His highlights at Liberty were incredible. He was almost going to be a first rounder after nobody even knew who he was before Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson's going to be that guy this year?
I think he's got more ability than Malik. Like, there's more.
Well, and also he played at Florida as opposed to.
Yeah, but like were you at the Utah game?
I was not. Dan Orlovsky.
Okay, maybe I heard somebody talk about it.
Orlovsky said he loved him at the.
Yeah, like I've said, if you were in an alien spaceship and you landed, and that's the only week of college football that you watched, and you watched every game, you'd say that's the best player in the country. Like, he's that gifted. So it's all there. It's just a matter of getting it out of him, going to the right place. I think he needs to sit. I know there's some disagreement on that. You have a guy who's raw. Some people say, he needs to play and get. No, to me, this is the Mahomes plan. Let him sit, let him learn, let him develop, clean some stuff up, and then you could have a huge payout.
What do you think about C.J. Stroud? What he did against Georgia, he used his legs more. That was the big conversation around Ohio. Is that the conversation around the NFL as well?
Yeah, I mean, even with me individually, when you watched him, I'm like, okay, everything's on time. He's outstanding. He throws a beautiful ball. He can make every type of throw. Everything's natural to him. It just looks so smooth and easy. When he had to move and reset, his accuracy tanked. You didn't see him really make as many plays with his legs. And then all of a sudden you get to the Georgia game, and he's creating all kinds of stuff. Now, part of it is because Georgia gives you the opportunity to do that because they're getting so much heat on you. But the old scouting adage is if you can do it once, you can do it. So I know it's in there. I know we can do it. I just wish we would have saw more of it.
Did you hear all the Ohio fucks? The Ohio fucks, AJ and the boys over there in Ohio were like, this is what we've been asking for him to do. Didn't have to. They get to the college football playoff. He didn't have to do it. I assume NFL teams are going to want to see him move because that's where the game is headed. You're thinking?
Yeah, you got to be. You got to be able to create, and it's not like you're not asking him to do what Anthony Richardson does, who's got like 60, 80-yard touchdown runs. I just want to say, hey, if you get a free rusher, can you make this guy miss instead of just taking a sack or throwing the ball away and give us a chance to make something happen? And that was something you just didn't see a lot of. So the fact that he can do it is encouraging to know that, hey, that's in there. That's part of his game. It's going to have to be. You can't, to be a statue in today's the league, you can't do it anymore.
I don't want to harp on this because we've talked about it, but it is combine week, and he's potentially the number 1 overall pick. Bryce Young's talent outweighs his size?
Yeah, I think it does. I don't think he fits for all 32.
Former scout in the NFL.
Yeah.
Potential GM someday, which is the person who used to have your job, got a GM title and a GM job. TV, that happens. You're dialed in. You think there's going to be people that are just like, he's small, but the guy's a freak. Is that what the conversation is about Bryce Young?
Yeah, you have to talk yourself into the size. And I've had buddies around the league when you talk to him, they're like, dude, I know how much you love him, but you got to see him in person because you got to see it. He's just not big.
Coaches are going to be very anti-Bryce Young.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. They all want the prototype.
Yes. Because potential can get your ass fired. You know what I mean? Like, I think scouting departments potentially see the talent and everything like that. Football coaches, though, are going to be like, look what they give us a guy who's going to break.
I think, though, it's two-part, though, Pat. I think you're going to see him. I don't even think they don't do the weigh-ins where you go to the weigh-ins anymore, but it would be one of those deals where the first time you pass him in the hallway, you're going to see coaches like, no way. There's no way. We can't do this. And then they're going to sit in the room with him. They're going to listen to this guy talk ball, and he's going to talk about every protection that they're running. He's going to talk about where guys are coming from, and they'll be like, this guy's like a savant. And they're going
really?
And then they'll change their tune.
I
talked to coaches at Alabama that said, you play on Saturday. On Sunday, they have a team of zillion guys working there in the analyst department.
All fired coaches.
Yeah, exactly. So they have a packet of the next team you're going to play on a Sunday. So you play on Saturday night. Sunday morning, you come to get your treatment at the facility. They give you your packet for the next week. Most quarterbacks on Monday. They're going to watch the tape of the previous game. Okay, let's dive into this. What do we got here? We'll work on this throughout the week. They said he'd show up Monday and be like, hey, I don't really like this route against the coverage we're going to see with these guys. Like,
that's the most important thing.
He had swallowed the whole thing and had adjustments he wanted to make protection-wise, route-wise, and he said a lot of times we ended up incorporating what he was doing because it was really good.
So he didn't win.
What's that?
He played at Bama.
Yeah, didn't get it.
Didn't win. He's at Bama.
Yeah, in terms of winning the ultimate thing?
Yeah.
I would say if you watched last year's draft and you saw the 900 Georgia defenders that got drafted, and you watched the SEC championship game when his receivers were healthy, and it was a track meet, and he was going up and down the field against all those NFL dudes, and then the receiver hurts his knee, Mechie's out as well.
Yep.
He's got no wideouts the second time they play him. So I've seen him against an elite, as good as there is, literally the most talented defense in college football history. You can pull up the numbers, but I want to say 450 and 4, whatever.
Hey, you love Bryce Young, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Okay, you're changing the way I think of it because I haven't met him as a person, and I didn't know any of that stuff. I just look at just like stats pretty much about the quarterbacks are going to get hit.
Yeah.
Like quarterbacks are going to get hit, and these are big fucking dudes, especially if they're
100%.
going to change the sling
Yeah.
and the slam thing.
Right.
Like there is going to be hits that come. If I am drafting a guy, I would like to see him survive. I'd like to see him make it. You think that because brain acumen is the biggest, that is the most important part of it all. He can make every throw. He's a baller. You think that is something that's certainly going to outweigh everything.
Look, if he's in a draft and I've got my choice of 6'6" Trevor Lawrence or Bryce Young, I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence.
Strictly because of the 6'6"
saying
survival.
I mean, they're similar players. This guy's got the size. To me, I think the gap is players between him and Stroud. I just think he's a better player. So all things equal, I'd much rather have. Obviously, we all want bigger guys. There's not a Joe Burrow in this draft. There's not there's not an Andrew Luck. There's not a Trevor
Jones.
Lawrence. So with what we have in this draft, I think he's clearly the best one, and I think he's one that can go out and be successful in the right spot. I think Indy is the perfect spot for him.
Really?
Wow.
And Jim Irsay loves him.
Yeah.
Jim
Well,
Irsay.
but do you think he was just sandbagging there?
I don't know. Like that would be funny if they decided to use Steichen's press conference as a work, and him and Chris Ballard are both working in there. That sounded like an off-air conversation that carried into a press conference.
Yeah.
Because Chris Ballard said, or trade back, right? And Jim goes, this guy loves picks over here. You could hear like Jim and Chris conversation off-air taking place up there.
Yeah.
That guy from Bama looks pretty good. It was like, I think that was Jim telling Chris again what he said off-air, on air. But who cares? If you're going to get to number one, you're going to get to number one anyways, which I think the Colts might make a play at some point.
I just feel like with them specifically, like of all the teams that could make a trade or go up there for a quarterback, it makes the most sense. Like
Carolina, you think?
I think even more so for Indy. I just think Indy's been on this veteran carousel for so long and trying just the short term. I think their team's good enough where I don't think they're going to be picking all the way up here again. So this is your shot. You're there. Just make it happen. Go get the guy. And don't sit there and wait at 4 and cross your fingers that the guy you like is going to be.
Well, and Jim Irsay has tweeted, obviously go up to the top, please. My relationship with the Chicago Bears goes back more than 60 years. I mean, he is, Jim Irsay is a lightning rod. He is awesome, and he's riding a bear at the Lincoln Park Zoo. His dad made his money in Chicago, HVAC units, I believe, for every building in Chicago. That's where he got his money. Then they go to Baltimore. Then they come over to Indianapolis. I don't know who created the patent for the HVAC. I mean, that story has obviously been told in many different ways, but I think Jim grew up in Chicago.
Is that that's a real bear?
Yeah, him and Putin, bro.
Goddamn
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
That's what they do, bro.
And what's his name? The MMA who does this stuff too.
Oh, Habib.
Habib.
Yeah, Habib.
The whole- I think everybody from
he's
that
like full
country-
on wrestling those dudes, man.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
videos are insane.
Yeah, the internet has really allowed us to understand that people do a lot more with bears than I thought.
Oh, yeah.
And people are a lot more loose with bears. Jackie Moon and Precious.
Dicking with them.
Yeah, like Jack.
Smacking them.
Oh, look at this little fucking. Look at this little like semi-pro is my only time of thinking that. But then on the internet, it's like over there in like
Dagestan.
and Russia.
Yeah.
Yep.
Crimea.
They just like bears are dogs almost.
Oh, my, that's crazy. Like I'll give you my one bear story.
They'll
So,
always beat us because of that. I think.
Cocaine bear now too.
Yeah, that bear
I'm in
loves
Alaska,
coke.
family vacation.
From what I heard.
You take a little float plane into this little area, right, into this
those
little
small
lodge, and then they've got they cook the salmon for you and all that kind of. You see the glaciers. So the kids are little, and I'm like, I got to do
beautiful.
something to entertain the kids while we're kind of waiting for the plane to take us back. I'm like, I'll do like an obstacle course, like race. So I set this thing up on the grass. All of a sudden, a bear's coming out there, and my little daughter, she's head down. Like I got to get her head up as a runner. She's head down like this, and I'm like I'm like sprinting out to her, like stop, and she thinks I'm just trying to make it so that my son wins the race. I'm like, no, it's a bear. It's like a real bear.
It's amazing to think about you. And this is what a scout would do, by the
Yeah.
way. All right, let's put a little 3-cone drill out here. See, and your
Little
daughter,
kid combine.
And your daughter, competitive, like, oh, my dad's trying to screw me over right here. I ain't even thinking about it. Happy to hear nobody died from that bear.
we're good.
Yeah, that's great news. That might have been the bear.
That kind of what it looked like, yeah.
Yeah, congrats to that bear being a cool bear, not a cocaine bear, because I think if it was the cocaine bear, your daughter.
Has anybody seen that, by the way?
No, we just heard Bill.
Yeah, Bill said it was the best movie ever.
Our photographer, Bill McComas, Billy, also the guy who codes on YouTube, he said, good movie. Dumb movie, he said, but good movie. He said that
One
the
time
bear
see.
really loved cocaine. Like, that's
Okay.
been everybody's big takeaway is that bear loved coke more than anybody else. And I'm very pumped to kind of watch. Let's go with the last quarterback in this whole thing, Levis.
Yeah.
Out of Kentucky, right? Numbers not that good. Kentucky not that good.
Yeah.
He has the body type, though. That's what everybody's thinking. And he can spin it. We saw some clips where he can spin it. And Hendon Hooker, who
Yeah.
we are a big fan of. Happy to see he made your top 50.
Yeah. I don't feel like there's been enough talk about Hendon Hooker.
We thought that as well,
Yeah.
actually.
You know, he's a good player. I think, with all the age and the injury, look, you should be thinking about things in terms of 4 and 5 years in the NFL. Everything can change. If you tell me right now I'm going to get 4, 5, 6 years of really above average, borderline, close to elite quarterback play, who cares?
Take
the guy's older. Take it, man. So to me, his tape was really, really good, and he's accurate. He's big. He can move around. We'll see where he ends up going. But to me, I think if he didn't get hurt, I think we'd be talking about him as a first-round pick.
I agree. And that was a video of Hendon that he posted from his workout. He can fucking spin it, bro.
Yeah.
Massive hands.
Yeah, I
Spin
saw
it.
him hold
Yeah.
the ball.
Yeah, he was on our program.
Yeah.
And we basically told him, like, hey, we're a big fan. He was there with Beans.
Yeah, Bush's baked beans.
Bush's
Baked
beans.
Nice.
He was there with Bush's beans, and he had the Hooker beans, I believe.
Yep.
And I obviously game day went to 2 Tennessee games.
Yeah.
So I got to see a lot of him, and I got to see the reaction of him. I got to meet his parents. I got to meet everything.
I love it.
Dude, the guy is.
I feel great about him. Yeah, I'm curious to see where it's an intriguing guy where he ends up
Where
going.
is he projected?
Well, I put him in my top 50, but I think he's probably in that second round range. But like I'm looking at a team, the Saints, right? You're picking in there.
Yeah.
He's better than anybody that you got there. I take him over Andy Dalton at this point in time. We already know what Jameis is, good or bad or
Great
indifferent.
leader, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I take a shot on him.
Heupel's offense is a lot of option routes, too. So
Yeah.
he's thinking pre-snap and post-snap down there in Tennessee, and they had a lot of success.
The hard thing with that offense, though, is they literally spread you from sea to shining sea. I mean, they're like 2 yards from the sideline on each side, and then they put Hyatt, the track star, in the slot, and for some reason, everybody in the SEC thought it'd be a wise idea to put a safety down there over him, and he just throws vertical after vertical after vertical.
Hits
after
it,
vertical.
though.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Which
yeah.
is a big deal. Let's talk
But
about
it's a little
Levis.
different. It's going to be an adjustment for him just playing in a little more condensed environment.
Let's talk about Levis a little bit.
Yeah.
Puts mayonnaise in his coffee.
Yep.
Eats bananas with the peels on.
Yeah.
I like that he's an independent thinker. Like as a quarterback, I like a unique guy who is his own person. Is it all just because he looks like an NFL quarterback that people like him, or what do you think the big hype is around him? Because you call it Kentucky was not ever really
Yeah.
in the conversation. No offense, Kentucky. They'll come back in the conversation. Love Kentucky. But they were never really in the convo. Is he going to do well at the combine, and what do you think it is about Will?
Yeah, I mean, he's got everything you want in terms of the size, the arm strength, the athleticism, the toughness, the competitiveness. Like those are all the pluses. You watch him last year; they were better offensive line. They had Wan'Dale Robinson out there, so we had somebody to throw the ball
What's he,
to.
third rounder, offensive line? They got a guard who's going
Yeah.
third round or something like that?
Yeah. So this year they didn't have a ton around him. That doesn't excuse the fact that he was not great on tape when you watch him. Now, one of the things that
didn't know that.
he had a toe injury, I believe, on his left foot, and I think he had his left shoulder. So I didn't know that when I'm watching him, and I'm literally taking my notes, and I'm like, dude, everything this guy throws to the left, he's totally closed off. He's working against himself. His accuracy goes down, big time. And then I find out later, well, gosh, he had a toe, he had the shoulder. He didn't run as much. Like the year before, I think he had 9 rushing touchdowns. Like they used him more with his legs, and he couldn't. He was hurt. So you got to factor all that stuff in together. And then he's supposed to be somebody, again, who's really smart. They rave about him from all that. There's a zillion sacks and there's a ton of turnovers. So at the combine, when I'm sitting in the room with him, if you're a team, we're gonna watch these turnovers, we're gonna watch these sacks, and just tell me what you see, what happened, and maybe you come out of that feeling a little bit better about it than you
They
did
got him
beforehand.
like top 5 quarterback, top 4 quarterback. Is there going to be a quarterback heavy top 10, top 15?
I think so. There's just enough teams that need them, and they're all. I feel like they're in the same divisions. Like it's the South, the NFC South and the AFC South. Everybody needs quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So
we know.
yeah, exactly.
tough.
And the thing about the, with the Texans and the Colts is it's like a 2-for-1 because not only if you go up to get one, not only do you get him, but you keep him from a team inside your division.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
D'Amico obviously and the Texans are going to get hungry.